Thanks so much for joining us for this Ask Amy podcast. This week, we are talking about how to save money on your homeowner's insurance policy. And joining me is Jessica Fuentes with Brazos Insurance Agency. I guess the first question is, prices are up everywhere. Is there a way to save money?
First of all, thank you for having me. Yes, obviously, that's what we're here for. But yeah, the first thing that I always tell people is always shop your rates around. Always give us a call, double check what are the rates this year with all of the other carriers that you guys offer. Is my rate still competitive? Because you never know, even if your rate has stayed the same or even if it dropped a couple dollars this year, which is very rare, but even if it did, that would be a great time to give us a call and say, hey, is this still the best rate? Because you don't know if there's another carrier out there $20 cheaper, even though your rate did go down this year. So yeah, the name of the game is always shop the insurance every year.
And I didn't really explain to people, Brazos Insurance Agency is a broker. So when your policy comes up, I mean, instead of you calling 20, 30 different insurance companies, if there are that many, you can call a broker like Brazos Insurance Agency, and then you ask a series of questions, you can shop around, and then people might not realize it doesn't cost the consumer anything, the homeowner.
Correct. Yes, it's absolutely free to get a quote. I've never heard of anyone charging to get a quote. So yeah, just give us a call. And a lot of times what I prefer to have is a copy of your current coverage. And that way I'm running my coverage options apples to apples with what you currently carry. And when I present you with the lowest quote, it's actually the lowest quote comparable to what you currently have. And then you can compare that apples to apples, line by line with your coverage, and you can know that you're not leaving any coverage behind.
Yeah, so I mean, this is not an ad for Brazos Insurance Agency, but you're a good expert because you've been in the market for 15 years providing insurance to people. So I figured if anybody knows what's happening at the market today and what you're seeing as far as price increases, it would be you.
Yes.
So what does it look like right now? I mean, we know that prices are up at the grocery store. When we go to get gas, everywhere else we go. I mean, what are you seeing with homeowners insurance?
Across the board, everything is more expensive right now, right? So if you did file a claim on your home for whatever reason, you know, the guy that comes out to do the work is charging more. His materials are costing him more. The price of gas to get to you is more. So all of those things always factor into how much more the carrier has to charge in order to make a profit.
And so that way your premiums are going to be more.
Of course, yes.
Like how much more are you seeing right now? Like what's normal?
So I would say normal is probably 10 to 15% and that sounds crazy, and it is.
Yeah.
But if it's less, if you're having an increase less than 10% right now, I would say you're doing great.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, and you don't think like, oh, it's so lucky. My prices only went up 10%.
Right. And that's why I like to show people kind of where they fall in, especially if I wasn't able to save you anything. I want you to see, hey, you know, you're paying, you know, $1,200 this year, but everyone else was 15, 16, 18, 2,300. So you're doing okay.
Yeah. So some things people should realize. You were saying that you ask people, hey, give me your current policy so that when I shop around for you, I'm not finding you, it's not going to be cheaper because your deductible's a ton higher.
Correct. Yeah. I don't want to send you an option with a 5% deductible if you have a 1% deductible. That's a big difference dollar-wise, right? So a lot of times those offers you get in the mail do have those higher deductibles. And if you don't pay attention and you just call them up and say, hey, I like this rate, let me take it. When you come to have a claim, that's when you're going to find out, you know, how your coverage has changed.
Bummer. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You find out how much more out of pocket it's going to cost you. And you said a lot of times whenever you ask people, hey, send me a copy of your policy, they think it's like a scam.
Right. They're distrusting. They're like, no, you just want to see how much I'm paying so you can charge me $10 more or $10 less.
Yeah.
You know, but no, really what I'm looking for, what are your deductibles? Do you have any special endorsements on your insurance? So if you've, you know, added coverage for your foundation or slow water leaks, and I didn't do that, and you come to have one of those, you know, problems later on, you're going to be really upset that you didn't have that coverage when you switched over, right? Even though you were really happy when you saved the money. So I always like to show you, you know, apples to apples, exactly what you have. And then we can discuss, okay, now here's the price with this. Do you really need this coverage? Do you want to take it off? And then together we can make the decision to maybe increase a deductible or take off a coverage.
Okay, so increasing deductibles is one way to get your premiums lower.
Correct.
But let's talk about some other things. Like if I want to keep all of my deductibles, everything the same, some areas to look maybe for discounts that either, you know, my current policy didn't have on them. And when you call a broker, you, right, would ask everybody, Jessica, a series of questions.
Right. Yeah. So first we're kind of trying to whittle down, you know, where can I place you, right? So you ask questions like, you know, year built. How old is your roof? any updates you've made to your home. Do you have a pool? Do you have a trampoline? Do you have any slides? Do you have any pets? So different risk factors will make you ineligible for certain carriers, but eligible for others. So as I'm asking these questions, I'm kind of already knowing, hey, okay, he does have a trampoline. I'm going to have to find a carrier that allows him to keep it if he wants to. So as we're going through those options, I'm also able to kind of tell, okay, you just replaced your roof 2 years ago and your home is 10 years or older. I know a carrier is going to give you a great rate for having a brand new roof. So that's what those questions are designed to do, to make sure that we're not leaving any discounts on the table.
Right. So on the opposite end of that, let's talk about if I've got an older roof. I mean, I may not consider it older because it's, say, 15 years old, but it's supposed to last 30 years.
Right.
When you try to shop around and find an insurance company for me, or when I try on my own, is that sort of a disadvantage that your roof is getting older?
It can be, unfortunately. In the Houston area, most carriers don't want to insure you if you have 5 years or less of useful life left on that roof. So whereas you think there's absolutely nothing wrong with the roof, and there may not be, it may be in perfect condition, but if they see granular loss on your shingles, then they're going to say, well, this roof may not have the next 5 years. In the next 5 years, we'll have to replace it. And so that puts you at a disadvantage. Either they want to charge you more, or they'll want to endorse the policy to limit the coverage to your roof after a certain age.
When they see granular loss, I've never had an insurance company say I'm coming out to see your house before they agreed to insure me. Is that common?
It actually is very common for them to want to come out. So pay very close attention to your homeowner's application when you're signing the paperwork, because a lot of times on that application, it'll let you know, hey, in the next 30 to 60 days, someone will come out to inspect the home. A lot of times you'll get a separate letter from the carrier too. And so people get, you get your big insurance package when you switch to a new carrier. You don't pay attention to it. You just kind of file it away. But a lot of times there's a letter included that says, hey, we're going to come out and inspect your home. So a lot of times it'll catch people off guard. But we do like to remind them, when we set up the policy, hey, just know that most insurance carriers do random verifications of the information we provide, so they may come out and take pictures of your house. If they need to come inside, then they do need to schedule an inspection, and they will call the client and make an appointment and say, hey, can I come out Wednesday at 10 a.m.? I need to look underneath your sinks and in your electrical panel, get up on the roof, if it is an older home and they really want to get an inspection on file. But if your home is 10 years or newer and the carrier is just doing random inspections, they may just drive by your house and take a quick picture of your house and not even bother you. But yes, it is very common for home insurance carriers to want to inspect your property.
Okay, let's talk about some of those other discounts. This one, I almost laugh whenever I say it, but are loyalty discounts a thing?
They are. Not with all carriers, but there are some of the bigger carriers that, if you are a member of Costco, or a member of AAA, there might be a small discount they can add to your account. So it's always great to let people know, if you are, a member of, any big box companies that provide discounts.
That's what you mean. You're not talking about like, oh, I've been with State Farm for the last 20 years, so you should be giving me a great rate.
So, for example, Progressive does have their own personal loyalty program, where as the years go by, you're not necessarily earning a better rate, but you're earning more perks. So your deductibles might go down over the years if you stay with a certain carrier and you add that endorsement onto your policy. You might earn discounts with, if you join a rewards program, they might say, hey, you have 20% off at Adidas because you're, a Progressive Platinum customer, or whatever the case may be. So there are different types of discount loyalty perks that are associated with different carriers. So that's always something to ask your agent once you are signed up with a carrier, or even just go on their website and click around and see if there's any, thing that you can sign up for individually. I remember for a while I had my personal insurance with Allstate, and I had all these points racked up that I had no idea I was racking up with their quote unquote rewards program. And so you could just go on there and order a gift card or order a 20% off coupon. And I had no idea that I was racking up all of these points. So yeah, it's always something to kind of like check around, on your own time once you've been with that carrier.
Right.
And you have your online profile, go and check and see what options they might have for you.
And what are the things they offer, what perks.
Correct.
Let's talk about discounts for safety measures. I mean, things that maybe we should be doing anyway, like fire extinguishers. Are there things that we can do around our house that maybe we haven't done that would allow me to get a lower premium rate?
So right now we're starting to see certain carriers that are actually giving discounts for water sensors. So there are now sensors that I guess you can install somewhere along the floors of the home that if they detect moisture, they'll go off or they'll call somebody so that you know if you're away from the house that there's a flood or a leak happening. That's probably the newest thing that we've seen. We're waiting to see if ever maybe cameras become a discount because we feel those are probably the most useful security features in a home are the home cameras. But right now we're still just seeing burglar, fire alarm, obviously. Local versus monitored gives you a bigger discount if you actually have it calling to a call center automatically for you. And then as far as additional security features, most carriers don't give you an additional discount. They actually require that the home have a fire extinguisher or smoke detectors. So if we uncheck that the home has like, oh no, this house doesn't have smoke detectors, they might go, oops, sorry, we don't want to insure that house. Burglar bars is another one that most people think actually will save them money. If it doesn't have a quick release, it's actually a fire hazard and sometimes will make you ineligible with your carrier too. So you might want to think about that before you put those burglar bars up to make sure it has a quick release function, because if someone needs to get out, obviously we're putting them for preventing people to get in, but if you need to get out in the event of a fire, you need to make sure you can get out.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about something that people might not think about. So all these questions are asked, if I'm calling a broker, usually you guys would ask all these questions because you're looking to see what discounts I might qualify or which plans I might qualify for. But what about my credit history? I mean, I want to obviously pay my bills on time. I want to get my credit score up higher. But does that play a part at all in maybe getting a better rate?
It does actually, because most insurance carriers are checking what's called your insurance score, and that's very loosely tied to your credit score. So with your insurance score, they're looking at how long you've been with a certain carrier. So are you jumping around a lot, or have you been with one carrier for very many years? Do you have a lot of lapses in coverage? Do you tend to let the policies lapse and then start them the next month over again? So all of those things contribute to that insurance score, and a part of that is your credit history. So if you do have better credit, it's going to give you a better insurance score, which will in turn affect your rates better.
So if maybe I've been working on my credit score, trying to bump it up for whatever reason, to take out a loan, or just because I know that it's a good idea, and it's improved by like 10, 20 points, would it be worth it to revisit, go back to my insurance company and say, hey?
With some carriers, it could, because depending on where that credit score was before, it could have put you in a certain tier. So let's say you were in a non-preferred tier, and then, in the next 6 months, you've got a better score. If we go to run it again, you might pop up to a better tier, and that could affect your rates.
Okay. All right. And you actually said that you have seen in this kind of crazy market right now, some insurance companies that have left the market.
Yes.
That have stopped writing.
That's correct. Yeah. Actually, I've seen this year we've lost 2 carriers at our agency, at least. I'm not sure in the whole state. But and our agency, so far we've seen 2 of them go away where they're just, shutting their doors, and we're having to kind of move people over to new policies and, make sure that they get refunds back and move the money over and things like that. So the bigger carriers, that's not going to happen with them because, they're very financially stable. But some of the smaller carriers, if they take on a lot of business at lower rates, then they have a bad year, that can really prevent them from being able to be profitable in the next year. And if the state comes in and says, no, that's not going to work, they take them over. And then that's where we are right now, where we're having to move people. They give us a certain time frame and say, hey, in the next 30 days, you got to move these people. They're no longer going to be covered here. And then we have to get to work and move everyone over. And that's a result of, the repetitive claims and maybe them not charging enough premium to keep up with that increase in claims the last 2 years.
And that brings us to sort of making sure that you know the company that you're signing up with, and sort of you don't want to end up signing up with a company that whenever it comes time to make a claim, they've run out of money to be able to pay your claim.
Exactly.
So how do I check those things? I mean, maybe the big companies are expensive, but then I get a quote from a company that I had never heard of. What should be my next step?
Your next step would probably be to check their financial stability rating. You'll want to make sure that they're a company that's been around for a while and that has seen their ups and downs already, so that they're going to be around for the long term. And the financial stability ratings will give you actual letter grades. So if your company has an A+ or an A-, you're probably going to be okay. As you get down to the B and C's, you might want to ask a few more questions of your agent, because that's usually who has the best information. So when you have your agent on the phone, hey, what are you seeing with this carrier? When a claim happens, do they usually just pay on time? Do you see them drag their feet? Do you see clients that are upset when they file a claim? And then we can kind of give them more, information and make them feel more comfortable with their purchase.
Because is there a place that a consumer could look up that financial stability rating on their own?
Absolutely, yeah. The websites would probably be AM Best and Dematech are probably the two bigger ones that you'll want to check. And they have a website where you can just kind of put in the name of your insurance carrier, and it'll give you a nice little report on where their financial stability is.
And it's a letter grade.
It's a letter grade, yeah. So it's pretty easy to understand.
I'm looking for A or A minus.
A or A minus is good. Anything, less than a B or B minus, you want to start asking questions.
Okay. All right. This is great information. We're going to take a quick break and we'll come right back. All right, we are back. We're with Jessica Fuentes. She's talking about ways to lower your homeowner's insurance in a year when everybody's homeowner's insurance rates are up. You're with Brazos Insurance Agency. One thing that we recently did some stories on cell phone coverage and ways to lower those bills, and we told them auto pay. I mean, when you're looking at something with a smaller rate, like your cell phone bill, $5, $10 matters a lot.
Right.
Do we get those same discounts for?
You do, but like you said, they're small. So, if you sign up for automatic payments instead of getting your bill in the mail, instead of that $5 fee per month that you're paying for installments, you might only get a $2 fee per month. So there are some savings there. But the bigger savings on the billing side are going to come from the discounts such as pay in full. So if you pay it all off at once, sometimes they'll take a percentage off. So that might be a couple $100s that you can save right up front if you just pay it off all at once.
That's good to know. I mean, it's something that people think, I want the convenience of not having to pay it all up front, but if it can save you.
Right, yes. And a lot of times that doesn't work out for home insurance because people escrow their home insurance if the loan is still young. So, they're not paying out of pocket. It's getting paid in full every year. So there's no additional savings for them. But if you're someone who pays your own home insurance out of your pocket every year, or maybe no longer has a loan, then that would be one of the biggest discounts I would recommend, right alongside getting a new roof.
Getting a new
Yeah,
roof.
That's the biggest one.
Okay. All right. And then talk to us a little bit. You said that some of your favorite customers are people who call you and they've said, oh, I've worked with the same agent for like the last 20 years.
Yes. So like if you've been with a big box company, say like a State Farm or a Farmers for 20 years, you've never moved, you've earned all these perks and, you don't want to switch. Those are my favorite ones to quote because they don't realize how much their rates have gone up over the last 10 to 20 years, So I love to shop those because every single quote that I come up with almost will be something that will save you money. And so I love to shock people with, I saved $1,000, those are the ones that I can do that for. If you're calling me every single year to shop your insurance, we're just trying to keep up,
Yeah.
But if you've never shopped before, then you're definitely going to be in for a surprise if you go and shop around right now.
That is good news.
Even with the way that prices are up,
Really?
Yes. If you've been with one carrier for a very long time, they've probably also increased your rates a lot more this year. So as I shop them around, I'm usually able to save them a good chunk of money.
That is good news. And I think a lot of people don't realize, too, that different brokers may check different companies or have different policies available.
Right. So every broker may have different, contracts with different carriers. And they may have options that you've never heard of before, but have been around for a long time. So there are carriers out there who maybe aren't on TV as much, but, have been around for, 30, 40 plus years and are great, reliable carriers.
So, Jessica, you said that something that people may ask you or another broker is you said here you'll show them like these are the companies that I've checked. These are the top 3.
Let's say that you came to me and I just wasn't able to find you anything better. That's usually when I'll step in and I'll say, hey, here's what I did do. So that way, when you go forward, you don't redo the same thing I've already done. Here are the carriers that I found. Here's where their rates came in. So check carriers that aren't on this list so that you can get a more well-rounded comparative shop as you're, looking at your renewal.
And so they're not duplicating work that you've already done.
Exactly. Yeah. Here's what I already did. Don't go do that again.
All right. Great information. On average, about how much do you think that the average person with no claims is probably going to be expected to pay that we should think when I renew, it's probably going to cost me at least
I would say right now, 10 to 15% more is probably what you're going to be looking at. But even then, shop it, because like I said, every carrier has taken a rate increase, but that doesn't mean that this carrier over here may not offer you a better rate than the carrier that has already offered you a renewal.
All right.
So it doesn't ever hurt to check. That's like we said before, it's absolutely free. No one's charging you to check around. So, just make that phone call, let us do the legwork, and then we'll let you know, at the very least, at the end of the day, you'll know, hey, I do have a decent rate, or, oh gosh, I need to switch right away.
Or I tried.
Yeah,
I
at the very
tried.
least, I tried.
That's all you can do is try, but
Yeah.
at least call around and try it. Thank you so much
Exactly.
for coming in today.
Yeah,
We hope you
no
guys
problem.
learned something new, and hopefully you can save on your homeowner's insurance. And let us know if you do. We want to hear from you. Everybody have a great day.
Thank you.